Hey, what's going on everybody? This is Noble, and today we're going to be doing an updated version of the Magical Musketeer deck profile. So this is one of my favorite ones because this is a really powerful deck that has an actual simple mechanic, but it basically makes all the spells and traps in this deck, this archetype specific at least, it turns them into hand traps, and it just is an extremely disruptive deck. It can cause a lot of problems for your opponent. And they also have kind of like a Mech Knight mechanic as well, to where columns play a role. So we'll get to that in a minute, but if you haven't had a chance to pick up this deck, I do recommend you do it, because Caspar and Starfire were the two expensive cards of the deck, really holding people back from making this because you need a playset of both of them, and they were sitting at like 18-20 bucks a piece, and then they got reprinted as really beautiful ultra rares as well. So it's much more affordable. It's a really fun deck to play. It's very disruptive, very powerful, and you can go into links really easily in this deck as well. So before we jump into this, if you haven't already done so, now's a great time to be a subscriber. Hit that red button. Also hit that notification bell so you can become a part of the notification team. Give this video a thumbs up, and let's jump right on into this Magical Musketeer deck profile. Okay, so to kick this off, we're playing triple Magical Musketeer Caspar. So a little disclaimer, all the Magical Musketeer monsters allow you to activate Magical Musket spell and trap cards directly from your hand, which is why this deck is so powerful and so disruptive. During either player's turn, you can activate Magical Musket spells and traps from your hand. If a spell and trap card is activated in this card's column, you can add one Magical Musket card from your deck to your hand, but not a card with the same name as the activated card you will use as effect once per turn. So basically, you can just play a ton of disruption from your hand, and then if you or your opponent plays anything in one of their columns, an effect fires off and you gain some type of advantage. So Caspar allows you to search a Magical Musket card from your deck in your hand, but not the same one. So if you play like a Desperado or a Last Stand, you can't grab another one. That has to be something else, which is fair. It'd be kind of broken if you could just grab another one, I guess. But yeah, this is a really important card. You absolutely need Caspar at 3, in my personal opinion. Another one you definitely need at 3 is Starfire. Starfire is the other what was the other expensive one, I should say. So what she does is same thing, allows you to activate spells and traps from your hand, and then if a spell or trap card is activated in her column, you special summon a level 4 or lower Magical Musket monster from your deck in defense position. So a lot of times when you're opening a hand, you're looking for either a Caspar or a Starfire. If you open Starfire, you're able to go into Caspar as well. You just play something when you're opening hand, be able to special summon Caspar, get something in his column, be able to add a disruption or something like that. Yeah, Starfire and Caspar are definitely the two starters for the deck as well. And they came in the ultra rares as well. Like I said, they did get reprinted. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, so there's Caspar as an ultra rare, and there's Starfire as an ultra rare, and they look really good. So I definitely recommend you pick this up because they're not expensive at all anymore. But yeah, so these two are really important. She basically lets you special summon. It doesn't just have to be Caspar. You can summon any level 4 or lower Magical Musket monster from your deck in defense position as well. So the defense position helps because a lot of times, they inherently don't have strong attack. You kind of have to boost that with something that we'll get to a little bit later. So it's not such a terrible thing that they had to be summoned in defense position. Next up, I'm playing triple Magical Musketeer Kid Brave. Now, Kid Brave is one I played at 2 for a while, and I decided I really like this better at 3. So he's the built-in draw power of the deck. So when a spell or trap card is activated in his column, you can discard a Magical Musket card and then draw 2 cards. So a lot of times, being able to put something in the grave is beneficial in this deck because you can just recycle it in a minute anyway. So being able to dig deeper into your deck is always a good thing, and it's not a loss throwing something into the graveyard. I'm running double Magical Musketeer Doc. Now, Doc I bumped up. I only played it at 1, but I actually ended up using it more increasingly. So if a spell and trap card is activated in his column, you can add a Magical Musket card from your graveyard to your hand, like I just said, but not a card with the same name as the activated card. So basically, he does what Caspar does, is that he allows you to grab it from the graveyard. You can't grab another of what you just used. But it's really nice to be able to have that graveyard recursion for consistency purposes. I'm running 1 Calamity. I like Calamity a lot. If a spell or trap card is activated in this card's column, you can target 1 Magical Musket monster in your graveyard and then special summon it in defense position. So that can be really powerful. I'm also running 1 Wild as well. What Wild does is if a spell or trap card is activated in his column, you can target 3 Magical Musket cards in your graveyard, shuffle all 3 into the deck, and then you draw a card. So you get to put some stuff back into the deck because maybe you need to pull them from the deck, and then you can dig it just a little bit deeper, and that's nice to have. I'm also running one Mastermind Ezekiel. I have people get mad at me about this one, but whatever, I'm doing it anyway. I like him. And I'll explain to you why I like him. So you can tribute some of this card by tributing just one magical musket monster. So it's easy to get out in the field. Same thing, during either player's turn, you activate spell and traps from your hand, magical musket spells and traps from your hand. And then once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you can draw cards equal to the number of magical musket spells and traps you activated this turn while this card is face up on the field. You'll use this effect once per turn. So that's actually really powerful because you can activate a lot. You can easily fill up your hand full of disruption and play 3 or 4 disruptions in one turn, one of your opponent's turns, and then you can straight up dig into your deck and get more plays for your next turn. So I like this card a lot, and then it's 2,500 attack beat stick easing out into the field, and it's actually a 5,000 attack beat stick because of a card we play a little bit later on, which we'll get to. So yeah, I like just the one Mastermind Ezekiel, or however you say it. I think someone corrected me and told me how to say it, but I don't remember how to say it now. So sorry, whoever that was. So I'm also playing just triple Ash. Now here's the thing about this deck. It's already so disruptive. Adding Ash in just helps it out. If you wanted to go with a little bit of a different build and add even more hand traps, just because you hate your opponent's life, you could do that. I'm only running just Ash because I'm going with more spells and traps. But you could easily throw in Effect Veiler or Ghost Ogre or Nibiru and just make your opponent's life miserable. Okay, going into the spells, I'm playing triple Magical Musketeer, Magical Musket Cross Domination. I call it Cross Dom. So this is a really powerful card, and it's a quick play spell, which I mean they're all quick plays basically, right? So if you control a magical musket monster, target one face-up monster on the field. Until the end of this turn, change its attack and defense to 0. Also, it has its effects negated. You can only use this effect once per turn. So it does target, and that is the only caveat. Something that has target and protection, it can't really get by that. But basically, you can neuter something completely. Just saying, hey, this has no attack and defense, and its effects are negated, is extremely powerful, especially being able it's their attack and defense going to 0, because any of our Magical Musketeer stuff can just smack over it now. So this is a really powerful card. I do recommend you play this one at 3. I'm also running double Steady Hands. Now, this is the one I was talking about earlier about bumping Mastermind up to 5,000. I do see this played at 1, and I've tried that. I personally like this one at 2 a little bit better. But you target a magical musket monster you control, and his attack defense becomes double until the end of the turn. But the only caveat is it can't attack directly, which is fine because you can just bump up Mastermind and then smack something in the face for 5,000, which is really cool. But also just being able to have this ready to, make her 26 or, make him 24 or something like that. It's really helpful because your opponent's not... The thing about this deck is your opponent doesn't know what's in your hand unless they, gain that knowledge or something like that. It's different when things are on the field because you have potential to pop them, but they're not able to rip stuff from your hand or look at your hand. It's way harder to gain the knowledge of something that's in your hand. So, just being able to your opponent's going to have to be scared of what's on the board and what's on your hand. I mean, that's just a whole new level of scary. Basically, 2 different things. They have no idea what you're searching, what you're grabbing to your hand. You have so many disruptions. And it's just really cool being able to say, with this situation, I think I'm going to do this, and be able to really, hurt them. So for some 1-0s, I'm running 1 Upstart Goblin, 1 Twin Twisters, 1 Monster Reborn, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 1 Raigeki, and then also 1 Call by the Grave. I normally don't really play Call by the Grave because I'm still super pissed at Konami for putting it at 1. I just think it's so dumb now. I'm not even getting into that. But for this one, this disruptive, deck, it fits really well. And then Raigeki is a really super powerful card that's never used. And, in this deck, it's just even more disruptions. An attempt to nuke all of your opponent's monsters. So, yeah, that's the 1-ofs that I'm playing. So for the traps... I'm playing double of Magical Musketeer Last Stand. This card I absolutely love. If you watch my other Magical Musketeer deck profiles, I freaking love this card. Number one, I love the artwork. It looks amazing, but it's a counter trap, so spell speed 3. When your opponent activates a spell and trap card, while you control a Magical Musketeer monster, and negate the activation if you do destroy that card. And the fact that you can activate this crap from your hand just makes it infinitely better. It is such a powerful card. I can't tell you how many games I've won because my opponent is about to play a spell and trap card that's so pivotal and it's a key point in the duel, and I just negate it, and I have it in my hand, and they think they're good because I don't have anything on the field, and I have it in my hand, negate it, and destroy it. So I won a lot of games with this card, and I really like it. Next up, I'm playing Double Dancing Needle. Dancing Needle, I actually played this at 1, and I ended up bumping it up because this is a really powerful card. What it does, if you control Magical Musket monster, which you're going to, you target up to 3 cards in the graveyards and banish them. You only activate 1 Magical Musket Dancing Needle per turn. So in the graveyards, it gives you options. You can literally banish all, like, 3 cards from your opponent's graveyard. And that's so powerful because so many decks use the graveyard as a second hand this turn. So if you, like, I've won against Sky Striker so much with this deck because I'm able to banish key resources that they need before they're able to grab them back or recycle them or do something like that. Being able to banish 3 cards off rip from your opponent's graveyard is extremely strong, so I did bump this one up to 2. The only thing is, this isn't a really good card to open up with if you're going first, because you're going to want to play something in Starfire or Caspar's column to start going into your stuff. And you can't really do that with this one because there's no targets. So, and you don't really want to banish your stuff too much for the most part. So that's not a great card to open up with. And, you know, I did have some problems when I was running it at 3 with always opening it with it. That's why it's a 2. I'm playing Triple Desperado. Desperado is just amazing. It's super simple. If you control Magical Musket monster, you target a face-up card on the field to destroy it. And the really cool thing about it is it doesn't just have to be a monster. You can pop a field spell if you need to do that, or you can pop anything. Just a face-up card. It has to be face-up, but any face-up card. So that is really cool. I do run through this because I absolutely use every single Desperado every single game, and I recycle them. This card I use a ton. I'm running 1 Fiendish Deal. What Fiendish Deal does is Magical Musket monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. So it gives us some protection, and then if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can add a Magical Musket card from your deck or graveyard to your hand and set another copy of this card. You only activate 1 Magical Musket Fiendish Deal per turn. A lot of times your opponent will forget about that secondary effect, and then they'll pop it and you start searching. Like, and the really cool thing is, it's any Magical Musket card, and it's either your deck or your graveyard. So literally, I mean, it's just really great. It's a really great floating search as well. It's giving your stuff protection. Crooked Crown, running 1 of this because if you control, you can only control 1 of this. But during your main phase, it gives you an extra special summon. You can special summon a Magical Musket monster from your hand. If you do, your opponent's main monster zone in that monster's current column is unused. That zone cannot be used until the end of this turn, even if this card leaves the field. So give you another summon, which is really cool. And then also running triple Impermanence as well. Impermanence is just really cool in this deck because it's even more disruption. If you, like I said, if you don't have Imperm, you can run more hand traps. You can run some Fate Levier, maybe some Forbidden Chalice, something like that, if you wanted to do that. But for Infinite Impermanence in this deck particularly, it's really kind of overkill at some point. So that's actually it for the main deck, guys. Let's get on into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I'm running triple Magical Musketeer Max. Now this is like the most important card in the entire deck, and it's extremely powerful. You might be looking at it saying, hey, it's just a Link 1, Noble. How in the world can it be that strong? Let me explain it to you. So what Max does is, as 1 level 8 or lower Magical Musket monster, so literally all of them. If this card is Link summoned, you can activate 1 of these effects. You add Magical Musket spells and trap cards with different names from your deck to your hand, up to the number of monsters your opponent controls. So you can literally add like potentially a crap ton of Magical Musket spells and traps with different names. Literally all your disruption, you can grab that basically. Like you can get a ton of disruption and be able to use it immediately. That is so freaking good. Or you can special summon Magical Musket monsters with different names from your deck up to the number of spell and trap cards your opponent currently controls. So this card really punishes your opponent for having a full board of basically anything. Monsters or spells, you're gonna gain a ton of advantage off of that. And if they know they're playing Magical Muskets, they know you're going into Max, they're gonna try to minimize their board as much as possible. But yeah, you can get so much advantage off of this card, and I absolutely go through all 3 Max, man. 3 Max, because they are going to want to get rid of this card quickly. This card is just great, and it also allows you to activate your spell and traps during your either player's turn as well from your hand. And then the rest is pretty generic stuff. I mean, that's it from basically for Magical Musket stuff. You could use some. You can go into some Exceed stuff if you wanted to run some Level 4 exceeds and kind of do a build, maybe go into Zeus from there. I kind of went with like an all Link extra deck build basically. So 1 Almirage, 1 Anima, 1 IP, 1 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, 1 Unicorn. Ooh, that is not straight. 1 Boral Sword, 1 Boral Load, 1 Avermax, 1 Apollosa, 1 Access Code, and then lastly 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. So again, this is not the only thing that are necessary are the 3 max, in my opinion. The rest of this stuff is not. If you wanted to do Exceed build, you could do that, but this stuff is, you know, it's just filler stuff. But basically, having all these different options to go into in this deck, it's just really great. So yeah, guys, that's it for the deck profile. I hope you enjoyed this one. This is a really fun rogue deck to play. One of my friends, Brandon, he literally refuses to play this deck. If I could start reaching for my Magical Musket deck box, he's like, nope, not playing it, because it's just so disruptive and it's such a pain. And it really, you know, it really goes to hinder your opponent at every move because there's so much disruption. They do not know what's in your hand, and they don't know what's, you know, what you have face down the field. You don't even have to put stuff face down the field, which is really cool because they can't pop it. So basically, they can't gain that knowledge, or they can't rip stuff from your hand. They're screwed, and you're constantly searching, constantly gaining advantage. It's just a really fun deck to play with. Yeah, guys, let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of the Magical Musketeers? Of course, this is the Magical Musketeer Eldritch. That's a fun one to play too, but I kind of want to go just back to a more pure Magical Musketeer build. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you're here and you haven't already done so, like I said earlier, now is a perfect time to subscribe. Hit the bell so you can become part of the notification team. Give this video a thumbs up. It says, hey Noble, I like your videos, I like your content. Keep it up, buddy. And yeah, I sleep so great at night when you guys hit that thumbs up button. So thanks so much for watching. As always, I'll see you in the next video.